now, here's the other half of this video on ionic compounds, in which we're going to show you how to write the names of an ionic compound. And it generally tends to be simpler because all you have to do is name the cation and name the anion. So that's basically all you have to do. It's a little tricky sometimes depending upon what the cation and what the anions are, but basically that's what you have to do. So if we had this, let's go with something like this. Something simple, okay? CaF2. All right, so what is the name of this cation? Well, the cations are the same names, or take the same names as the metals from which they come from. So this is calcium. Now this is the ion of fluorine, which is fluoride, okay? So basically, we write its name, calcium fluoride. Fluoride, remember, is the ion of fluorine. Fluorine has no charge, but when you change it to the -1 ion, the ene ending is changed from, obviously, from ene to ide, calcium fluoride. Let's try another one. Let's take a look at the periodic table. Let's go with, let's say, this element, or this right here, this compound right here, Na2O. So Na is sodium. It's the ion of sodium, and remember, the cation always takes the name of the metal from which it comes from.
Now the cation being the first, you write a cation. Now this is a positive ion.
Get it? Cations are positive.
I like that. And then you have an anion. Now this portion is going to be the negative charge. You should have covered this in your reading, but the resulting charges that you would get from sodium and oxygen are this. So we have positive, I'm going to remember that.
Positive.
Positive sodium, and then we have the negative, this is the non-metal, the metal cation, non-metal anion, oxygen.
Okay, so here's our oxygen, oxygen with a 2 negative charge. We changed its ending to I, so this is just sodium oxide. And there you go, it's pretty simple. Let's do a couple more that are a little bit more complicated because of the fact that they start to have ions from the middle of the periodic table, the transition metals. For example, let's say we did this.
Now he's writing something that you should have memorized, put to memory by the time you come in August, your first day. Now what is that? That is that sulfate polyatomic ion that you're seeing in the parentheses with the 3 around it. Now what's the charge of a sulfate? I'll write that out, Mr. Cassant.
It's 2 negative.
Sulfate is a group of atoms, polyatomic, that has that charge. SO4, 2 minus.
Okay, so we know that it's SO4 2 negative, and we know its name is sulfate. So as we said, when we write the names of these compounds, we just write the name of the cation, write the name of the anion. And this is sulfate from your polyatomic ion chart, and of course Fe is iron. There's only one problem, my friends. Because iron is in the middle of the periodic table, as we said earlier, we know it could possibly have more than one charge, or being multivalent. So the question is it iron with a 2+ charge, which we mentioned before, or is it iron with a 3+ charge? How do we figure that out, Mr. Walsh? How do we figure out whether it's a 2+ charge or a 3+ charge?
Well, you could do it just like a reverse crisscross method of what we showed you earlier. If we know that we have 2 iron atoms, and 3 of these sulfate atoms. Now, if we have 3 of these guys, I'm going to go back to the balance that I did before. Sulfate, remember, has a charge, and this is something, those table of common polyatomics, have it committed to memory by the time you come in August. 2 minus charge, and we have 3 of them right here. I gotta draw my balance a little lower. We have 3 this is my sulfate. we have a net -6 charge. We know we have only 2 irons. Now, what's the charge of that iron going to be if you have 2 of them? Well, obviously, it's going to be +3, because 2 plus 3s make a net +6. So this is kind of a reverse crisscross that we did before. But because we know the charge of sulfate is always -2, it's always -2, it's a polyatomic, we've memorized it, put it to memory. We know there's 3 of them that balance out 2 irons. We know the charge of that iron needs to be +3. So this would be iron, if you want to do it like that, or if you want to do the little tops, I don't really care, whichever way you like. Roman numerals, iron, 3, sulfate.
Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end this video for today. And hopefully this will help you guys. If you're still having some trouble, feel free to take a look at the textbook. And also, when we see you in August, we'll be able to talk and answer your questions. So have a good day.